Okay, let's take a look at using an app type of thing. This is fincalculator.com, and if you are on a computer, you can do that. It also, you can get it called Easy Calculators through the Apple Store and whatever, and put it onto your phone and tablet. There is a little bit more extensive types of calculators on here on the computer related version as opposed to the version that you get on your tablet. But you can see there's a godzillion different calculators that you can use for all different kinds of things. And we can use some of these as we go through the class, and then other ones you may not use for the class or the project, but would still be helpful to you in your future. So the very first one that's listed in the app as well as on here is the TVM calculator, time value money calculator. So we can just use that. And we're going to go through and do some of the same problems that were in the PowerPoint. We're going to do them on here to see how to do it. So let's take a look at our first one. Okay, so here was a single sum problem, and we had learned how to do this using the tables. Okay, so now we're going to do the same one using the app. Okay, so Brewer Company wants to determine the future value of $50,000 invested for 5 years, compounded annually at an interest rate of 6%. You personally need to figure out which of these is the PV and the FV and the I and the N. All of that stuff you still need to come up with. So it's still helpful, even with this, to make your timeline. In this case, we want the future value, so that's the question mark. We have $50,000 invested now, so that's present value. We've got an interest rate of 6%, and we have 5 years is our number of periods. Okay? And so let's take a look at using the app to calculate things with that. Okay, so in here, notice at the bottom, it's compounding. Now, one of your tricks is that you need to make sure the compounding is on whatever you're compounding. So we're compounding in this problem once a year, annually, so that needs to say annually. Okay, now our present value was 50,000, and our interest rate was 6%, and our number of periods was 5 years. Now what we want is the future value. So once I have everything plugged in, the three things that are plugged in, and then I hit the FV button. Now you'll notice that it comes out with a negative sign. You just disregard the negative sign. So the answer is 66,911. And we see when we calculated it using the tables that we came up with 66,912. That's because whatever the app uses goes out maybe one more digit or 2 or 3 more digits past what this table only goes out 5 digits past the decimal point. So you're oftentimes going to get a little bit of a difference between the app and using the tables. And of course, it depends on what tables you use. Different tables go out a different number of digits. So generally, if you're doing this in real life, you would probably round this to say 66,900, and that'd be close enough. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Now in this one, we have Edison Company deposited $250 million now, so that's our present value. Okay, they want to have some money to build a power plant by the end of December 31st, 2020. So our future value is saying, okay, as of that date, how much money will we have to be able to start the power plant with? Okay, and we got 4 years between now and then, and our interest is 10%. But this is compounded semi-annually, twice a year. So let's see what we do when we use an app. Okay, I can hit the reset button. The present value was $250 million. Okay, and now here, when we calculated it out with the tables, we had to take the annual rate and divide it by 2 because we're semi-annually compounding, which we're going to want to say that, semi-annually compounding. So we took the interest rate and divided it by 2. However, this says it wants the annual rate. It's going to divide it in 2 for us, okay? So it wants the annual rate. So that was 10%, I believe. That was, yes, 10% and 4 years, okay? So our period is 4 years, but since we're compounding annually, that's actually 8 periods. Now, it's going to divide the 10% by 2 for us, but it doesn't do anything with the period. It doesn't multiply the periods. So we have to put in the exact number of periods when we're doing this, okay? So now we want to know the future value, so we hit the future value. We ignore the negative sign. We got 369 and roughly 369,364,000 roughly. And here we had $1,000 difference, okay? Again, because how many decimal places you go out is going to make a difference. And especially when you're talking about these kind of millions of dollars, big numbers, then it's going to make even more of a difference, okay? But you can see we're coming out with close enough to the correct answer. Okay, so here we have a present value that we want, and here we have the present value of 73, or we want to know what is the present value of 73,466 that we're going to be receiving in 5 years. We're going to have 8%, and it's compounded annually, okay? So our timeline shows our future values, the 73,466, and our I and our N, and our PV is now our question mark. Now with the app, you don't have to worry about what table. Like when we're using the tables, you had to determine, are we going to use table 1 or table 2 or table 3 or table 4? Whereas here, we just plug in what we know and press the button for the thing we don't know. Okay, and so, here our future value, and that was annual. Let me double check that I have the correct thing, 73,466. 73,866. 73,466. 8%, 5 years, annually compounded, and what I want is the present value. So I hit the present value. Again, you ignore the negative sign, and we get close to within a number of cents of 50,000. And we see here that that's the answer that we got with our tables. Okay, here's another one. This is where your uncle's going to give you $2,000 3 years from now when you graduate. And that's at 8%. He wants you to tell him how much he needs to put in the bank today. Okay, so once again, we do our timeline. Our present value is the question mark. We know we're going to have 2,000 in the future. Our I is 8%, and our N is 3 years. And it's compounded annually, so we don't have to change the I or the N. Okay, we have annual, and the future value is going to be 2,000, 8%, 3 years, and we hit the PV button. We ignore the negative sign, and that's 1587 and 66 cents, basically 1588. And we can see here that that's the same number we got with using the tables. Here we wanted to calculate for an unknown, okay? And so our we want to accumulate 70,000. We got 47,811 right now, and we know we're getting 10%. We want to know how long is that going to take us, how many periods, and we're compounding annually. Okay, now we can do this one in here as well. Okay, our present value is 47,811. And our future value is 70,000, okay? And the number of periods is what we want. The annual interest rate, how much was that? 10%. Now, the thing is, remember when we were working with the FV or the PV, we'd have our answer come out with a negative. And we have to do the same thing here, okay? So otherwise, if I forget and don't put in the negative and I hit this, put this in annual, and I hit this periods button, it comes out 0. It's like, it doesn't know what to do, okay? So what we need is to put a negative sign there, and then use the periods button, and now it's showing that it's going to take us 4 years to get to the 70,000. So again, you have to remember that either the PV or the FV, usually the FV, you have to have the negative, but it doesn't have, it can be the PV. Okay, so in here we had calculated that yes, it was 4 years.